Doing well too by God's grace. Thanks so much for making time to join us this morning.
You're welcome.
All right.
You're welcome.
Okay, so let's get into our conversation. Today we are talking about something very important, and I know that this is something that you get to engage a lot of people on, and all of that. But let's start here. Now, many of us actually wake up and immediately we reach for our phones. At what point does screen time actually start affecting our mental health?
Hello.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. You dropped along the line.
Oh, okay. All right. So I'm saying that I want to know. I'm saying many of us actually wake up and immediately we reach for our phones. We just grab our phones and sometimes we can stay on for a very long time and all of that. At what point does screen time actually affect? Starts affecting our mental health?
Okay, so before we start the conversation, good morning to you and good morning to your audience as well. Well, I think this is a challenging issue that we are, facing in these current times because people have indirectly become addicted to their technological devices without even knowing.
Mm.
Exactly. So there is that flight, fight or flight response where the person wakes up in the morning and is in a hurry to check, their phone because that is the first thing that comes into the mind. Now, being exposed to these devices has its own psychological challenges, and I'm going to talk from a psychological standpoint. We can talk about chronic stress and burnout. We can also look at what we call sleep disruption. That is the quality of sleep that you are supposed to get, you don't get it.
Mm.
And then we look at the emotional tiredness or the emotional fatigue, and even the social disconnection that comes with, being overly exposed to your phone or any form of technological device. Now, looking at the chronic stress and burnout aspect, let's imagine this, okay? Where you find yourself in a work environment or in an environment where you are constantly receiving notifications. The brain is put in that state of, alertness because you are expecting the next, email or the next WhatsApp message. Now, as that is happening, the body goes through some level of stress because you are expecting something. So that anticipation puts you in that stress state. I hope you get
Yes,
my
I get it.
explanation.
Yeah.
Exactly. So as it keeps on happening, at some point you become overwhelmed
Mm.
with these constant notifications or messages that are coming in and
Yeah.
all, and it affects you psychologically. So you be sleeping, and then you realize, hey, I'm expecting some email at 9. So in that sleep, you just wake up, and that
Mm.
is where this you know disruption comes in because you are supposed to have a deep sleep, but in your sleep, your mind or your brain is awake.
Right.
The body is lying down, but the brain or the mind is awake because the mind is expecting an incoming notification.
Mm.
The body doesn't actually sleep. Sorry, the mind doesn't actually sleep. And when that happens, I mean, it affects you. Let's also look at even bedtime and spending time on the phone. The phone or every technological device has this blue light, which when you are exposed to, it affects your melatonin level. Thereby, it can lead to, poor sleep. So people that have their phone next to them or they spend, let me say, 2 hours, 3 hours on the phone before they sleep, they find it difficult after putting the phone that you realize your eye feels, as if it's hurting. There is that heaviness on the eye. It is as a result of, that prolonged exposure to this blue light at
Mm.
night. Now, let's look at the emotional fatigue, the emotional tiredness. When you are not able to sleep, you are not able to consolidate memory. That is, you are not able to form memory. So everything that, let's say, we are doing today, we go home, we are not able to sleep. We find it difficult to remember some of the things that we are going to do today. And it's as a result of our inability to sleep.
Hmm.
When you don't sleep, memory is not formed. That is how the body works. Sleep, at the time of sleep, memory takes, or the body takes time to begin to compartmentalize all the things you did in the course of your day
Okay.
and put them into a memory, to form memory for you. So when this is not happening, then obviously you wake up irritated, you wake up feeling tired. So you feel this headache. This your head is aching.
Right.
Yet you don't know. You go like, ah, but I just woke up from my sleep. So what is happening to
Mm.
that is because of your exposure. Now let's look at the social disconnection aspect. You are talking to people. Let's say you are at the dining, talking to people. I mean, people are seated next to you, and then you are on your phone. People are conversing, but you've left the real human world into the digital world. And the interesting thing is the digital world has a lot of algorithms to keep you there.
Right.
Interesting ones that would sort of make you stuck because you like it. It's pleasuring to the body and to the mind. Therefore, they would also give you what you want to, see. Yesterday, I bought a vehicle with a woman, and she says she doesn't understand why people lately spend so much time on TikTok. And then I asked her, "Well, I'm told there are interesting videos there."
Hmm.
She said, yes, but do they know the number of times that they lose just by being there? You understand? So,
Hmm.
social disconnection. So these and many more are some of the challenges that comes with these professionals being overly exposed to their technological devices.
At what point does it become a real concern?
Mm. So at what point? That is the question. So we are looking at. Let me talk from my point of view. Let's look at the frequency. So the frequency of the individual's usage of the device can tell, and then the dissociation between the individual and then the device, the kind of distress that it brings to the individual.
Hmm.
So someone who wakes up from 6 a.m. to the let me say to 12 p.m. or 12 a.m. midnight and does not, stay away from the phone. I mean, we can argue the fact that some people would say, "Oh, I work remotely, so me being online throughout doesn't mean I am facing any problem."
Yeah.
That is true, but let's look at it. Are you able to dissociate yourself from the device for a certain period of months or weeks? If no, then you are then gradually you are gearing towards addiction. And when it becomes addictive, that is where it becomes problematic. I hope you get me.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, um, you, the individual, should possibly find a way to know that am I not spending too much time that you can use to do productive and quality things elsewhere when it is spent on these devices, then we can say it has become a problem.
Hmm. I see. Right. Now, but sometimes it feels like the more time we spend online, the harder it is to focus. What
Oh,
is really
yes.
happening to our attention, our memory, and even decision making when we are constantly on screens?
Okay. So I made mention of some few steps earlier that the individual's mind is put in a state of notification or the next email or the next message, the next incoming whatever information that he or she is expecting. Now, that constant pairing, indirectly, you are going through a form of conditioning. And as this conditioning keeps on occurring and occurring, at a greater point, you realize that it has become like that. So take it as every morning you wake up checking your email. Every morning you wake up checking your email. The moment it becomes routine, your attention gets disrupted because quality time that you could have spent in the morning with family is taken. The moment you wake up, it is your phone. Every ringing tone or vibration you hear, your mind is going to your email or your mind is going to your WhatsApp, your Instagram, whatever form of social media you are using. That sort of affects your attention span.
Mm.
You're not able to pay attention to things around you. There is this thing that I believe every human being needs to do. We have paying attention and being, you know, consciously attentive of your environment.
Right.
Now, most people can walk past a certain um, building over and over and over and will not even know the color of that building because they are not consciously attentive to their environment. Why? Because let's take it as that person is always on phone with a headset on and he or she is going up and down. You lose certain details within your environment due to lack of attention. Memory, I made mention of it. When you are not able to sleep, you are not able to consolidate or for memory. Why? Because you are spending so much time. Imagine someone who says, as for me, my work is 24 hours. I'm not saying working 24 hours is not good,
Mm.
but let's look at it. That always on kind of attitude or behavior does not help you to form memory because the brain doesn't get enough sleep or enough rest. There is no time for the brain to relax or to wind down. And when that happens, your memory gets disrupted. Decision making, as you said, I don't know, but picture yourself in this environment where you feel so tired,
Mm.
very tired. And then at that same point, they are telling you, what kind of food do you want to eat? You would realize when you're young, you would prefer, let me sleep when I wake up. That is a decision moment.
Yeah.
You want to choose the kind of food you want to eat. Let's look at another instance where you are overly tired, okay? Especially, let's say you are driving, you are overly tired. At that point, you would realize that your sense of judgment is blurred because of the tiredness you are going through. So something that you could have done to save you and any other person there, you end up panicking because of that, mental tiredness. And this is how it affects your decision. Even at work, you are supposed to close a certain deal. You realize you typed the email but did not hit the send button. That is a decision moment. So the next morning you go to work, your boss is like, we didn't receive any notification from the email. What happened? But I did it. You go back, you check, you realize you didn't. So it is always important to always have a break. I mean, I would even encourage what we call workplace napping, if it is possible. Find a place and just nap for some few seconds. So if all these things are, not done well, these are the consequences that, these prolonged exposure comes with.
Mm. Right. Okay, I want us to touch on, I mean, get to understand the whole thing very well. Then we can now move to some other parts. Now,
All
are
right.
some people more likely to experience digital burnout than others? Maybe based on their personality or the kind of work they do.
Yes. Yes. I'll use avoidance personality.
Mm.
Avoidant personality. Now, these people don't want to associate because they don't want to get themselves into trouble. They don't want the, they always have the feeling that what I'm doing is being criticized by the next person. So, such people tend to spend much time on these digital devices because they feel, I mean, imagine being someone, what is the word? Introvert. Being an introvert and then being in your room playing your game, and the game keeps on giving you comments like, you are great, you are wonderful. I mean, those are words that you don't normally find within your environment.
Mm.
But here, like is, you are receiving this. Just you mean you will spend much time on your digital device because you want to hear these words. You don't want to hear the critiques of people out there, or you don't want to associate with them because they don't tell you what you want to hear. You understand? But I mean, a highly extroverted person will go about their duty. Not, I won't say they will not waste time or spend time. They will, but I believe that because of their happy-go nature, they would feel to interact more with human to human as
Mm.
compared to their time on this their digital device. So yes, personality sort of plays a role when it comes to how we interact with our devices. One thing I want us to understand is that everything, every device, let me use that word, every device is an extended self of you. So it's like an extension of your own self. The device you are using, it becomes an extension. So that extension can either be a positive one or a negative one based on the kind of personality you work with or you are made of. Exactly.
Mm. I see. Permit me to take you back a bit. We were when you were speaking about the attention, memory, and decision making. You made certain points there. Uh, is it possible to reverse these things?
Oh,
I mean,
yes.
when the person cuts down screen time, is he able to reverse their attention? Is he able to reverse their memory capacity and their decision making abilities?
Um, it is. I would say
How,
yes. I
how long
mean,
does it take?
it also the length of your recovery depends on how deep you are with the device. So
Okay.
let's take someone who is uh,
Hello. Hello, Robertson. I think we're having some challenges with the network. All right, so I'll try and get him back on the line, and then he can continue the conversation. Yes, but we this morning, if you just
this
tune
is
in,
about
okay.
gradually. So it is about gradually.
Mm.
You don't just up and say stop using your phone or stop using your laptop. No, but you gradually individual. So someone who spends an entire week sitting behind their computer or using the phone, such a person, if you take the phone or the computer away, you are not going to help the person. But
Mm.
what you can do is to gradually win the person off, just like a baby is taking off breast milk. That is it. You do it gradual. So you set certain sequence in place for the person, and as the person follows this sequence, he or she is able to overcome that difficulty, and automatically your attention will be restored. But the attention aspect too, I would say, it's all about you being conscious. It's a conscious effort you have to put in making it. The same way memory can, be restored, and decision making can obviously improve when you're able to have these things. And I believe that it all comes down to setting digital boundaries. You should have digital boundaries. I
What
mean,
are those?
so digital boundaries are like I tell myself not every not what do I do? I turn off all non-essential notifications. Do
Mm.
you understand? That
Yeah.
is one of the boundaries I'm setting. I can use the do not disturb option when I'm deep into my work and I keep on getting these constant notifications. I can just put on do not disturb, and then I can set specific times to check my mail or check my WhatsApp notifications or check any other form of social media.
Mm.
It is a conscious effort you are putting in here.
Right. We'll come to the practical strategy shortly, but let me announce the phone lines in case anybody's listening to us and they may want to join the conversation. So if you just tune in, this is Business Breakfast on Z101.9 FM with me, Nietzsche Hammond. This morning, we're talking about how professionals can actually balance screen time and real time. One of the biggest problems we are seeing is that many people are logged in on their phones, on their screens. I mean, with the advent of hybrid schedules and all of that, We are seeing that people just spend a lot of time. The work never ends, really. That's what we see, and it's affecting so many people. And we are getting to know from my guest this morning, Robertson David Mfodwo. He's a clinical health psychologist, and he's telling us that it actually affects your mental health. It affects your attention span. It affects your memory as well, and also your decision making. These are four major areas that this actually affects you when you spend too much time on your phone, or on your screens. And that's why we're having this particular conversation, so that you can actually balance it or break away from it. Very soon we'll touch on some practical strategies, but if you just tune in, you can actually send us a WhatsApp. It's a very interactive show. If you have questions, you are free to send them to us. The number to text is 0544 321019. 0544 You can send us a WhatsApp on that number. You can also call that same number, and then we'll give you the opportunity to ask your questions or make your comments. Also, you can call us on 030395661, 030395661, and then we'll give you the opportunity to also ask your questions. We're streaming live on Facebook at ZFMGH and on YouTube at Z Multimedia. So feel free to also drop a comment under the live stream. I will read them for you this morning, and then Robertson will address them if there are questions. Right. So, Robertson, let's continue the conversation. Now, let's talk about workplace culture. Now, this idea that you must always be available, because I think that is one of the things that's also fueling the time. I mean, the length of time we spend on our phones and on our screens and all of that. Where does that pressure come from, and how can organizations begin to change that?
Okay, so thank you very much for that question. So um, let's look at it from this way. I don't know. I mean, and I'm sure you might, but let me put it this way. You've realized that lately there is a lot of advertisement when it comes to remote and then hybrid work. Now, we have seen work as not a place anymore, or let me say, work is now becoming not just the place or the building. That is how work has now become. But it has to do with you being there, be there when you are needed. So it's kind of making the dynamism here, let me say, very difficult to know. Why am I saying this? That that back in the time when work was always the in-person presence, now it has always become always on. So that is the new culture here.
Mm.
Always on, always on. So people think that, oh, let's take it as I'm a sales operative for a remote work. The fact that I am online, receiving calls, receiving messages, and all. I mean, my supervisor is likely to say I'm being productive, but that might not be the case. I am actually on, but I'm not doing anything. You understand?
Yeah.
It's not the always on that makes it, that brings out productivity. And this thing, I mean, is playing a very, very major role when it comes to an individual's level of addiction towards, you know, their digital device. Let's look at something. When I am in an environment where I have to constantly respond to mails, automatically I am with my laptop. So therefore, I begin to form that attachment, that bond with the laptop. So
Mm.
in my I get notification. My laptop is next to my head because I have to send out the next email. I have to send out the next notification. I have to respond to everything. Now this is creating that atmosphere where I'm not able to pay attention on other factors because I'm expected to send that email or do that thing that in that moment or in that instant. So in my sleep, my body is lying down, the brain is not asleep. The
Mm.
brain is awake because I don't want to miss the next email for my supervisor to query me. You understand? And that has sort of given us this pattern where you see people, we call it the immediate replies.
Yeah.
That immediate reply creates a certain form of stress or burnout in you. Because in your sleep, every 30 minutes, let's take it as that, every 30 minutes you have to wake up and check, has the mail come for me to forward it? Oh no, let me go back again. So you are not able to fall asleep because of that email. We look at the late night emails or even the late night calls that you have to receive because some of the remote jobs, by the time you are asleep in Ghana or you are trying to sleep in Ghana, that is where in another environment someone has started the day.
That's true.
So you are not able to sleep. Now these kind of things or these things is naturally not helping employees. Now, the best thing I feel, or the new kind of can form for their staff, is not always about following up whether your staff is active online,
Mm.
but it's about setting clear communication expectations. It is not the number of times you respond, but it's the number of times you close business for me. How many businesses are you able to close in a day, in a week? This is it. You've made the communication clear. So I don't necessarily have to be there 24 hours. As and when I'm expected to close a certain business, I am available,
Mm.
I close that business, and I'm done for the day. I hope you get me. That way, it reduces the kind of pressure on the individual. I mean, we can also encourage, we modeling healthy behavior. And I mean, also that forms part of the strategic ways to manage screen time. Modeling healthy behavior is by setting your own standards as a worker, as an employee, that hey, at this time of the night, my phone should not be close to me. I'll not be sending out email after this time. After that time, my phone or every devices that I work with is taken away. And when your manager helps you, you're able to adapt these kind of lifestyle, and you can be productive at work
Mm.
without necessarily having to be constantly there. Exactly.
Mm. I see. Okay. So let's touch on some practical strategies too, and then we can go. So on a typical day, I mean, you're receiving emails, WhatsApp messages, you're getting notifications, and all of that. They never stop. Those things keep coming. What are some practical ways professionals can set boundaries without feeling like they are slacking?
All right. So not long ago, I made mention of a few of them, where the first one has to do with set your own digital boundaries. Set your own digital boundaries by turning off non-essential emails, emails that you don't need them, you turn them off, or notifications that you are not, they are not important, you turn them off. You can use your do not disturb option, which is available to you. Not every email or every message can come in to disturb you. And then you set your own screen time. Okay, I'm going to spend this number of hours or that number of hours on my phone or on my desktop or on my whatever device you are using. When you set these times, it helps you. I I believe as an individual, that is from a personal point of view, um, a whole day, a whole day, 3 to 4 hours screen time should be enough as an individual. I mean, this should be enough out of your whole day. So in the morning, maybe an hour or some 30 minutes. In the afternoon, and then probably uh, not late evening, but somewhere in the mid evenings. You can check, and then when it's time for you to sleep, your devices should be far from you.
Mm.
It's very necessary and very important. They should be far from you. Your phone, ideally, if you can, should not be next to your head when you are sleeping.
Right.
The next vibration will cause you to wake up. The
Mm.
next ringtone will cause you to wake up. So why not keep them far from you so that you can enjoy your sleep? Sleep is very, very important for the
Mm.
body. Sleep is very, very important. Another way we can also look at, screen time management is being practical, being intentional. You intentionally disconnect yourself. So, as I was mentioning, in my bedroom, my phone will not enter there. This is me being intentional that I want to, dissociate myself from my phone when I'm going to sleep. So
Right.
let's say my sleeping time is 8:30. 8:30, when I'm entering the bedroom, my phone is in the hall or
Mm.
anywhere that is supposed to be. I don't send my phone when I'm going to have my dinner. I don't. My phone is not with me whilst I'm eating, and then I'll be pressing and eating. No, my eating time is mainly for my eating time. I mean, it's a way of showing table manners. Because imagine eating with your family and you are on your phone whilst people are conversing amongst themselves. It doesn't show, great character of you as an individual. Remember, family was before these devices came.
Right.
When you were born, you were not born to the device, you were born into a family or to a certain group of people. So spend quality time with them.
But
And then,
okay,
yeah,
go ahead. Go ahead. Just go
okay.
ahead. Yeah.
So at the workplace, and I think this will be beneficial, is having structured breaks.
Okay.
Managers should ensure that employees get structured breaks. And 50, oh no, 50 is too much. Let's say an hour, an hour of focus. Then the individual gets a 30 to 45 minutes of, screen free time. Where if I'm working with my laptop or my desktop or
That is
whatever,
a lot too.
well, you see, when you want your, in my earlier submission, I made a comment that even we should encourage workplace napping.
Mm.
It is very important because if your employee stays behind the desktop or the computer, whatever device, for that long period, trust me, not the person is not working throughout that time. Or at some point, the person might be doing something else. You
Yeah.
understand? So,
Yeah.
I mean, as a manager, you sit with a person and then you table things out. Okay, I'm going to give you this number of breaks from the screen. Is that okay with you? If the employee feels okay, then you go with that one. I hope you understand me.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then managers should also know this. I don't know how it will be taken, but let's redefine what productivity is all about. Productivity is not all about being there. It's not about being present. It's not about how available you are, but we can get productivity in being effective. I mean, being effective and efficient, not necessarily being there throughout. So that online worker doesn't always have to be there. When it is time for the person to close a certain deal, 30 minutes, if the person is able to do that within 30 minutes, we are done. He or she has closed for the day.
Mm.
Exactly. So as a manager, I mean, you need to repurpose the definition you give to productivity. Exactly.
Okay.
So
Right.
I think these are some of the things that
Mm.
managers and individuals can
Can do.
take. Will be
Yeah.
very.
I want to double click on the digital boundaries. How can someone train themselves to be able to stick to those boundaries?
Okay. So, one, intentionality. You need to be intentional and self discipline. The first week, it might not work. That's fine. The second week, in between there, that's progress. Third, and then the continuous week, you are going. So it's all about being consistent,
Mm.
being intentional, being disciplined. Imagine yourself sleeping where your phone is in your drawer. No, I wouldn't even say it should be there. It should be far from the sleeping area. So try as much as possible to keep it at a place. Someone may say, "Oh, but I can put it on silent." No, it's not good. The phone is not actually supposed to be, with you in that space, because the phone has its own radiation that it produces, and during sleep, I think the last time when we in our previous conversations we touched on something, music, the power of music. I made mention of some frequency levels that when an individual is trying to sleep, the individual produces. So as you are producing that kind of frequency and your phone is also producing a different kind of frequency, it can affect your sleep. So your phone should be away from you as much as possible. Your devices should be away from you as much as possible. So being intentional, being disciplined, and being consistent would get through this.
Right. Now, many people actually feel guilty when they try to unplug. What I mean, they feel like they are missing out or maybe they are falling behind. How can someone take a break and still feel at peace mentally?
Okay. So the question is, what do you do when you are away from your device? What
Hmm.
do you do? What occupies your train of thoughts when you are away from your device? So as an addict to my device, I move away from the device and all I'm thinking about is the thing I could have done on the device. So I'm in a hurry to come back to the device. No. Find something productive to do within your environment.
Mm.
Something that would take the mind off, the edge to go to the device. It can be reading a book, and I would say, if possible, managers should ensure workplace reading. Have a mini library in the workspace. When the individual is away from their device, they go into that library, read a book, or some, um, let me say, in between staff conversation corner, where that break that the person is taking away from the device, the person is going to use it to interact socially with people, but not just to leave my desktop and then go and sit in a chair and then I'm waiting for the time to pass and coming back to the desktop again. That
Mm.
one you've not done anything.
Right.
So you need to find something productive to do, something that would engage your train of thought, something that will not let you be thinking about what you have not done and what you should have done on the device. And I think that will help you.
Okay. All right. Now, a lot of people actually equate productivity with being constantly online. How can professionals redefine productivity in a healthier way?
Okay. So I made mention that productivity is not always being there,
Mm.
not always being online. One, there should be that clear communication of the individual's tasks. What are my tasks for the week? What are my tasks for the day? If they are well defined, and I am someone that I believe my task for the day is something I can complete within the space of 3 hours, I quickly put all the energy and then the focus in that 3 hours, and then when I'm done, I'm done. That is because I've achieved the objective for the day.
Mm. Hello?
You understand?
Yeah.
So when these tasks, hello,
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. I can hear you now.
when tasks are made clear to employees, when their duties, what they are supposed to do in a day, in a week, in a month, are clearly communicated by their managers, they're able to, finish whatever they are supposed to do without necessarily spending that long hours
Mm.
behind their devices. So managers should always ensure that tasks are well communicated. But one thing I always ask myself, and it's a question I keep on wondering, if I am supposed to close a business or two business in a day, and then I'm able to finish it within 3 hours or 4 hours, must I always be at the office? That is a question I keep asking myself. Because I'm done for the day. My objective has been achieved. I'm sure the individual has a backup plan for the next day's activity. So if the individual closes their business for the day, I think they can take the day off and, if possible, reinvest that time and energy into other things.
Mm.
Yeah.
All right. So let's go. Let's talk about specific tools that people can use. Are there some apps or tools that people can actually use to help them manage their screen time better? Apart from
Oh,
the,
yeah.
I think you mentioned the do not disturb earlier. Are there some other tools or maybe specifically even apps that people can use that you recommend? Yeah.
I mean, there are screen time tracking apps that one can get into. So it's all about going to Google
Mm.
Play, or your Apple Store, where you look for these devices. I mean, screen time tracking devices, and you input the data that you want into it, where it will help you track and manage your screen time without necessarily spending so much time, you know, on the device. So when one thing too is when the device is providing you with the number of times that you are spending on the screen, the measures you need to put in place is my device says I'm spending close to 12 hours on
Mm.
my screen. What do I do to reduce these 12 hours? And that
Right.
is where you begin to set the practical steps that you want to use to sort of see yourself putting a stop to that. Another way, I'm sure there are also focus apps that can help you block certain distractions.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
go online, you look for these apps, you download them, and then it will take out certain unnecessary messages that you want to receive. And then you need to calendar yourself. It's something I always say, if possible, have a diary. In that diary, have a calendar
Okay.
and ensure that you follow your breaks on your calendar. I mean, having a diary is very effective because it will help you, you know, write down certain things that you as an individual you find very beneficial to yourself. So if we do these things, I believe that it would actually help, us in managing our ways very well. So these tools and more are available there, and they can help you manage your screen time.
Right. Okay, Robertson, thank you so much. I don't know if you have any final words to say. Maybe
Yes,
one. Yes.
yes,
Go ahead.
yes. So what I think I'll end on with: let's be mindful, let's be intentional on the number of time we spend on our devices because they have a long-term consequences on ourselves. I mean, on our health, psychologically, physically, and in all forms. So let's be very mindful and intentional on
Mm.
how we use these devices.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, Robertson. Thank you for
Um,
your time and thanks so much for sharing your insights with us this morning.
yeah,
All right. Please do enjoy the rest of your day, sir.
you too.
Okay. All right. All right, so that was Robertson David Mfodwo. He is a clinical health psychologist, and he joined us this morning. We've been talking about how professionals can balance their screen time and real time. Real life, really. So, if you miss any part of this conversation, you can visit our social media platforms and you can play back. We're on Instagram, Facebook, and X at ZFMGH, and also on YouTube and TikTok at Z Multimedia. The video will be posted on our YouTube. You're free to go and play it back. Just get to learn exactly how you can be productive without spending too much time on your phone or on your screens, because that is actually something that we are learning today that harms us. It harms our mental health, affects our attention span, affects our decision making, and several parts of our lives, even our relationships and all of that. We got to learn all of these things here this morning. So you can visit those platforms and play the video back. But that's how we wrap up today on the Business Breakfast on Z101.9 FM. Tomorrow is Good Friday. Well, we still have a show here. We'll be having very important conversations in line with Easter and some other things. I want you to continue to listen to Z101.9 FM and make sure you join us tomorrow for all the things that we have for you. But happy Easter in advance to you and your loved ones. My name is Nicho Ebi Hammond. I'm back again tomorrow. Until then, keep listening to Z101.9 FM. I'll see you tomorrow. Up next is The Brighter Side with Jeremy Okorie Amwako. Bye-bye.